Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about episode 10 of Failure Frame. This episode was interesting because it had one of my favorite moments in the entire episode, but it also had potentially the most annoying sound sequence that I have heard in the entire time that I've been covering anime this year. Oh my lord, I watch my stuff and I listen to my stuff via little earbuds in my ears, and when that sound effect came through for those screechy creatures near the end of the episode, I swear to God they were rattling off of my brain and like reverberating back out. It was a trip, and not one I'm eager to take again anytime soon. That said, it definitely added to the atmosphere, and it definitely made me feel like I was in the middle of the situation that was going down with the characters as they realized that the amount of luck and good fortune and other things that have been happening to them throughout the episode was about to flip and potentially fall flat on its face. Now, I'm not saying that everything is necessarily guaranteed going to go to hell in the next episode, but what I will say is that this episode was very chill, was very character focused, struck this really interesting balance between showing us something that would be potentially scary and then basically pulling Lucy with the football and making it so that the situation could be handled with relative ease. And it really kind of brought my guard down. So for us to get to this point and to think we're so close, we're gonna get there, I'm thinking, yeah, something's gotta happen here because this has been too easy. For these characters at least, this has been too easy. And to see all of those creatures coming out of the sky, and the fact that not only are they coming after us, but that they are at least being seen, if not engaged, by the other students who are there at the goddess's command, was definitely interesting. But that was really only one part of the picture insofar as what was going on in this episode. This episode was very focused on creating some really interesting and meaningful character moments between Touka and Lisbeth and Saris and Eve. And I really like how our party dynamic is growing. It also had a couple cool moments for Piggy Maru and for our new 8-legged steed companion. I am not going to try and pronounce that because even though I like Norse mythology, I cannot pronounce that. I think it's like Slay or something, like yo. Like the full name, there's no way I'm doing it. It's not happening. But I really do love this new horse edition, and I love the fact that it can transform from this super cute, almost like a kind of like Grimm's inspired My Little Pony into like the horse of Odin, which is like amazing. And it was really neat to see just how that was integrated and the different ways in which it was able to help us. The fact that it didn't want to stop licking Saris. I hope that's what was happening. I couldn't quite make it out with my eyesight. That's what I saw at least. Was amusing, and I mean, I'm relieved that obviously it buggered off because I mean, if she wasn't enjoying that, it needed to stop. But it was really fun. My favorite moment in the episode, though, was without question when everybody else had managed to get across the lake and then Saris kind of ends up taking a dip and then Touka gives her his coat. I thought that was uber cute. I'm not super mad that we don't see it throughout the entirety of the episode. We don't know how many hours they spent in the swamp, and I'm not going to critique the artists on that. I think that's okay. I think the symbolism and the image I got for my thumbnail was still pretty awesome, and I really like the connection between the two characters. I also found it really funny the way that situation went down, because of course Eve and Touka were talking about Lisbeth and about how to kind of like help and encourage her versus when to like let her do her own thing and kind of trying to balance it. And of course she started hearing at least part of the conversation and knew there was something going on. And then Eve wanted to cover for what they were talking about. And it was her comments that indirectly lead to Saris basically going for a frickin' swim. I thought that was clever. I really like the overall dynamic between Touka and Saris and how they've dealt with that in the show. I like the fact that it's actually in many ways more so her being drawn to him, because a lot of times in the show we see everybody and their cat being drawn to her. So that's kind of refreshing. It's nice to see that even if she has all this other bullshit going on, that she still has the capacity and willingness to be drawn to another person. It shows that although she's definitely dealt with hardship, that she's not like irreparably broken or something. And that was a nice feeling to see. I also really like the moments that we see between Touka and Lisbeth, because they both share certain aspects of what they've been through. And he seems genuinely concerned about making sure that she is able to get past that and live her life. Not in a way where he's trying to push her to do that, but more so in that he's trying to help her as best he can, as somebody who can see where she has been, and especially where she has been up until very recently, and who has been through something of that nature of his own. So I really like that dynamic as well. We also get to see some of the creatures that are out in the world that remind him of what we saw at the start of the series, where he was trapped inside of the tomb or the catacomb or whatever. And I find it really interesting how calm he seems to be about what's going on with them and everything now versus how he was dealing with them then. And I really wonder how much of it is that he has gotten stronger and maybe he doesn't realize his own strength, versus how much of what he credits to them in his memory is because of the psychological impact that dealing with them undoubtedly had on him. I think that's something that's really worth considering. All of that said, based off of what we see at the end of this episode, I mean, we see Touka looking legitimately concerned. And that's definitely something, because Touka is usually somebody who is able to keep his cool and who usually knows what he wants to do in a situation. So I mean, if Touka is looking concerned, that fight could potentially be very nasty. I'm definitely looking forward to next week and to seeing just what will go down. Will we succeed in dealing with these creatures? Will we end up interacting with these students who came on the bus with him? Will the goddess discover that we exist again, or will we continue with more characterization? There are a lot of different options that this show has, despite the fact that we have 2 episodes left for it to wrap up what it's doing. I'm very curious to see exactly what they'll do with that, and I've definitely been enjoying this so far. This is probably my favorite of the season, as I predicted at the start of the season, which is hilarious because a lot of my other predictions were big, humongous no's, but this one has done really well. Anyway, though, those are my thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys thought of this episode, so drop a comment below and let me know, and I'll talk to you in the next video. See you later. Bye!